So dumb. Y'all, this is the first thing that I finished in 15 years. I have been actively writing for the past 4 years, and that is the first thing that I finished. I kind of lied to y'all. It's not really done. It's a first draft, but the whole story is complete. That is crazy to me. I printed this out at work because I don't have a printer. It's weird. It's really weird to see it physically. My goal here now is to edit. I want to buy a red pen and really feel like an English teacher and just kind of go at it, just like tear it apart. Before we get into this, I think I mentioned that it was the first thing I've written in 15 years. I wanted to take a step back and take a look at my roots as a writer. If you didn't know about me, is that I was a published writer as a child. Not actually, but I do have a book. I wrote it when I was 10 years old. It is called The Firestone. I'm covering my name. So this was a book that I made in a writer's camp. I was 10 years old and really bored one summer, and my mom knew that I needed to do something, and she knew that I liked writing, and she signed me up for a writer's camp at my local community college against my will. I did not want to go to this, but I ended up writing this story, and at the end of it, they basically bind it for you, and now I have this forever. It's a nice little time capsule. I will say I was very disappointed when I got it because I thought we were going to get like a sort of A5 dimension, and we got this is letter pages. How do you say that? Like letter size paper, 8.5 by 11. So it didn't really feel like a book when I got it. It kind of felt like a book report. I was happy to see it. I definitely put a lot of time. There's a little introduction thing I wrote. Let's read it. Let's see what this is about. The one thing Franz didn't know about the world is that there was more than just a regular daily life. He didn't know that you had to wake up in the morning, tired but still go to school, get back home, and repeat the cycle the next day. Most of all, he didn't know that there was more beyond Earth. Much, much more. This is where our story begins. I'm kind of hooked. I wanted to just take a look and maybe do a little critique, since we're in the spirit of making progress as an artist and improving. So we could take a step back, see what a 10-year-old version of me thought was good. Now, I do want to shout out, like, I kind of popped off on the artwork here. Like, look at this font for the chapter, and oh my god, there's little corner floral pieces, and I even had like little pictures. I was kind of living for this. What I remember from this story is that it's about David, who discovers a portal in his middle school, and him and his friends go through, and basically you have like the plot of Narnia mixed in with the plot of the Wizards of Waverly Place movie. Like, do you remember when Selena Gomez had to go to that cave and get the stone and wish her parents back together again? It's the stone. It's the stone. I wish it wasn't. I wish I didn't totally just rip off the plot of that movie, but I did. Listen, I love that movie. I was such a fan. I stole many, many things from it. I stole this concept. I stole the concept of the stone. I stole the concept of when they're building that bridge with the rocks, like that happens, and I literally was like, I'm gonna write that down. No one check this book for plagiarism, please. Also, total side total aside, I recently went on vacation to San Juan, and they have like 500-year-old Spanish forts there, and I saw where they filmed the final battle between Selena Gomez and David Henry for like their wizard competition or whatever when Justin gets sucked up into the hurricane. Honestly, best Selena Gomez acting moment I could think of. But very weird to see that in person. Another criticism of this is the naming. The names are extremely, extremely confusing. I have two characters named Isabel. I have one called Isabel and another one called Isabella. And if that's not confusing enough, one of them is the main character's best friend, and the other one is the main villain. I want to read this passage because I have tried to read it out loud a couple times and I have not stopped laughing. This is the scene where they cross the bridge, and I think they get to the other side because one of the characters, Derek, gets basically lifted on a boulder and flown to the other side of the abyss, and they don't know where this boulder came from. A girl emerged from the willow trees with a dark purple whirlpool in her eyes. She was tan with a pirate shirt with ripped black shorts. As she got closer, her eyes turned from dark blue to black. She walked over to Derek and asked him something in a different language. She looked at Derek, David, and Isabel. When she realized they were puzzled, she spoke English. The name's Tina, Tina said with an Australian accent. Okay, I think that was because I was obsessed with H2O, just add water, like clear nar.
Arnar. The condensation!
I was obsessed with that show, and I think I just wanted to add an Australian character to this. Shout out to Australia. Okay, I'm trying to read through this, like, to, like, give, like, a little plot synopsis, and it's not working. Like, I cannot give you an idea of like what's going on here, but I guess they find the stone and then they have this big battle at the end. Okay, I'm going to read the last couple sentences just to give you an idea of how we end things here. Tina sadly had perished along with Isabella. Then the universe went back to normal. The grass was green, the land formed back together. The three survivors exchanged looks. They sighed. The three walked on for greater things. They were brave, very brave indeed. The end. We have improved so much. We have improved so much. I will say, I have had moments where I've felt insecure about this story, but reading that has definitely let me know that I have done something, that I have achieved something greater than my past, so that at least we have something to work off of. That's good. This was hard. This was really, really difficult, and I will let you know like my timeline. I started this story back in September. It is now February, so we're looking at 5 months or so. And this is only 6,500 words. I wasn't writing for an entire 6 months. I actually think I wrote the first 1,000 words in the first day. I also realized that I am heavily, heavily editing as I'm going along. Like I know for a fact that I have stuff to edit here. But I really don't feel comfortable moving on until I am like satisfied with what the previous paragraph said. And it definitely is a streak of perfectionism, but I also just like feel really uncomfortable leaving something that like I know for a fact it's not working. And I was getting better at that as like the story went along. I was able to just move on from certain things, especially at the end, because I really just wanted to get to the end. And I felt like I felt it, like I tasted that feeling of like the last paragraph was like so close, and I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm just gonna write it. Also important to know, I took a hiatus from this story within those 5 months. My last video, I actually was talking about a completely different story. I was making a lot of progress on it, and then sort of very soon after I made that video about how I was really, really feeling it, I hit a wall. And I guess this is why I love having multiple projects to work on at once, because I found myself thinking about this story as I was struggling for the other one. So I kind of was like, you know what? Just because I said that I was going to do that one first doesn't mean I have to, because no one's waiting for it. The only person who knows about it is me. So why overcomplicate things? Let's just go where the wind takes you and see what this thing is. So we did that. Now I have this. Now it's full. We got 65,000 words. No. No. We have 60 we have 6,500 words, which is, you know what? It's kind of a lot to me. To me, this is the first thing I've written as an adult. This is the first complete thing that is mine. There are parts that I really, really love, and that's exciting. There are parts that I am okay with, but I recognize that they could use some polishing, and some parts that I could totally rework and not be upset about. But I think that's what is so great about a first draft, is that now this thing exists. Now it can be played with. Before, you can't go off of something that is just in your head. So I am incredibly grateful that this medium has been like this medium of talking to the camera and having even this small community. I think I have 28 subscribers. I don't care. Like, this is great. Like, I am keeping myself accountable. And what I mean by I don't care is I don't care about the numbers. I care immensely that anyone cares about what I have to say. I so appreciate everyone who's even taken the time to watch any of my videos. So thank you guys. I learned a lot about what interests me thematically. Like, I think that there is a reason why this story was the one that got completed first, and that was really interesting. There's some other common threads in some of my other pieces that I had to abandon because I wasn't feeling connected to it. And I think by focusing on themes and threads that I actually was connected to, it made finishing this feel a lot more attainable. I would just have to work toward it, but it was somewhere within my wheelhouse. So I think going forward, like, projects that I want to work on in the future, like, I know I feel like there's a jumping off point as to what is going to work for me, my writing style. That's I think that was a good thing to learn. I know I gave little excerpts and I laughed at myself before, but I kind of want to do like a little reading of the beginning of this thing. Feedback is welcome. I'm not ready to be ripped to shreds yet, to be honest. So if that's what you want to do, maybe keep it to yourself. But actually, no. You can say whatever you want, but just say it with kindness. Maybe say it with kindness. Obviously, I have work to do with it. It's not done. I know I said it's done, but it's not done. I have people who in my life who I know will at least give me some real feedback. So I'm excited to actually have something to give to them, because I have been this person talking about wanting to write for a long time. So I finally have something. I kind of want to I want to give myself a little exposure therapy by putting it out into the world, even just a portion of it, and just seeing what reactions I get. Just a little bit of context. Our main character is a 7-year-old boy who disappeared from his house for 2 days and then came back. So I'm going to read the opening scene, and it's basically his mother, the morning of his return, talking to a police officer. Important context is that they live in North Texas. I do not live in Texas. I don't live anywhere near Texas. I needed this story to be in Texas for some reason. Like it only made sense for the story to be in that location. So I feel like I don't give characters the accent, but I feel like when I read it, I imagine the accent. So if I have a terrible Southern accent, I am so sorry, um, and I'll work that out. But I want to read maybe like a page or so. I'm just gonna call this Ocean Trip. Mama pulled at her cigarette again. Through the screen door, he watched her, sitting slumped on the steps, one red elbow scratching against the concrete. She shook her head as smoke erupted from her mouth and the wind brought it to him. It smelt like her. I ain't been to an ocean. My 7-year-old made it to one before me. The policeman looked at him, then back at her. Ma'am, the ocean is a day's drive away, maybe more. I'm aware. And he said he went by himself? She took a last drag, then squashed the cigarette in her ashtray. She raised her hands above her head, shrugged, and slapped them against her thighs with a thunderous clap. Look, you think I like spouting crazy to you? Just, you know what, ask him yourself. She looked back, beckoning Lee with a hand. When he didn't move, she reached up and opened the door herself, and the metal hinges screeched as if to yell. The hand reached for his wrist, and so he stepped out into the sun. I'll flip this page. The policeman descended from the brightness and crouched to his level, the blue of his uniform radiating out plumes of dark, harsh heat. Hi, son. Did anyone take you anywhere away from home? He shook his head no. You walked off alone somewhere? He shook no again. He says he didn't walk there, Mama chimed in. Only that he was there, whatever that means. Okay, fine. You were somewhere by yourself. Somewhere with water. Maybe you mean a lake? No? Or a river? He knows the lakes and rivers round here, Mama said, her lips gripping another cigarette, shaky hands fiddling with a lighter. His father takes him fishing. If he wandered to one of those places, he would have told me that. He knows their names. Ma'am, if he can, I want him to answer the question. Where were you, son? He looked to Mama, and through the thick haze of the first puff of smoke, her eyes told him not to lie. So he said, I was at the ocean. God damn it, Lee! The words sprung her up. She walked a couple steps away, bare feet crunching on starved yellowed grass, and a hand combing through her curls. See, that's all he'll say. I just can't deal with that. Lee, go inside. The door swung closed behind him, and the muffled volley of voices droned on. In the 2 days he went to the ocean, so much had changed. Daddy was gone, and no one had acknowledged it. Another already replaced him, an old woman whom Lee had never met. She said she was his Nana. And that is the inciting incident. I also care a lot about this story. I really love what I talk about. Basically, what I would have decided that has inspired me a lot is like a child's perception of the world. And so this story is heavily influenced by that idea. Also about how a child perceives change. um, especially when the world can be so volatile. How does that look for someone experiencing it for the first time? And what can that all teach us about change, about how to deal with it, about how it makes you feel? Because it's like a very inevitable thing. And how does change show up in the world? You can tell that this excited me a lot. And that is a feeling that I am continually chasing. And I'm really, really happy I found it here. I'm really, really happy I found a story that I connected with like that. I'm also, okay, I love this idea. Um, I don't know where I heard it from, and I wish I could give credit because I have really been thinking about it. Okay, there's a couple different phases of what a piece of art goes through. There's like the phase where the artist is making the art, like where it's just theirs, where it's coming from their mind and it lives with you. Like so this has felt like me. Um Once it's shared with other people, they have their own interpretation and their own thoughts and ideas about it, and they take in their experiences and project it onto that piece of art. So then it becomes theirs, and then if something is ubiquitous in society, like if it gets around, it becomes a work of like what the people make of it. I've also heard the idea that a piece of art already belongs to the collective consciousness. Like somewhere out in the world, there's ideas floating in like the clouds or whatever, and you they come to fruition. They get materialized by the people who have the right set of experiences to make it real. Um, and I love that. Like this piece in my mind now, like has always existed. Um, but it took someone to make it real, and that someone happens to be me. I like that I'm the vessel by which the story is created. That is what I'm trying to say. That took a long time for me to figure that out, but I'm just happy this exists. Maybe if I wasn't the one to write it, maybe someone else would. But I like this story and I'm excited to get feedback. I am going to allow myself to hear things that maybe I don't want to hear, but also understand that like people are bringing different things to the table when they give me feedback. So that is fine. I know there's work to do with this. I also, and I have other stuff to work on too. I have books to read because honestly, after really hunkering down and writing this, I lost track of my reading a little bit. I did finish My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, and I loved it. I loved it a lot. I want to talk about it, but I'm not prepared to talk about it, so I kind of want to read more of her bibliography. I do want to read Labvona, and I do want to read Miklu, which is a novella she did as well. Maybe I'll do a whole video of her. I don't really know what kind of content to make here. Most of it has been my writing updates, but I could share other thoughts if people are curious about what the noggin up here is thinking. I started Jazz by Toni Morrison. I it was because I went on vacation. As I because after when I went to Puerto Rico, my reading just totally tanked, and I kind of lost the plot of Jazz. I was only like 30 pages into it, and I was like, no. I was getting confused, and I was like, no, 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 no. This is not the respect that Toni Morrison deserves. So I put it down for a second, and I recently started I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. And I like it. You know what? I was kind of in these like very character focused like internal world sort of thing, and both My Year of Rest and I Who Have Never Known Men have that in their characters. So I will talk about those books at another time. I think this was like a big writing update for me. And how exciting that I actually finished something. That is such a good feeling, even though when I like actually finished it, it was so weird. When I typed the last word, I was very underwhelmed. I wanted like confetti to like pop up and like people start clapping and start singing to me. Um, but no one knew. Like no one knows that I finished this. Um, so now you'll know. I definitely have some people to reach out to. Um, and I'm procrastinating that because I'm afraid to get feedback. But exposure therapy.